Okay, so next job is changing out the fork seals on my 1984 Honda CB450SC Nighthawk. So the curbside one's really bad. It leaves big streaks of oil up and down, and this one's starting to go on the roadside. So it's time for them to go. It's been about 24, 25 years since I've done a set of fork seals, but looking through the Climber and the Honda manual, this is going to be fairly similar to the ones that I did the last time, which was on a Yamaha XS650. So anyway, I got some tools together, the tools I think I need. Obviously, I got my new seals. I got a 8mm Allen wrench. The parts manual says it's 8mm. I'll see once I get the axle out of the way if it's 8mm. Phillips screwdriver to take care of that small screw, that holder screw for the speedometer cable. 19mm wrench for the nut on the axle. A couple of 14s for the connector for the air hose on the roadside of the forks. I got a 12mm for the connector for the air hose on the curbside, and then 10mm for a whole bunch of different ones, the drain and the clamps off the triple tree, the fork clamps and so on. And then my snap ring pliers that I'll need to get the snap rings out of the top of the tubes. So yeah, looking at this, I know from having filled up the forks a couple of years ago with fresh oil that you got to take this side off first, these two 14mm. You undo this. You need one to hold it, and then you undo the one that turns. And on this side, it's a 12mm, and it's got this one's got to come off so that this can spin. I just used a crescent wrench the last time, I think it was, just to get these started. When you take the tops off of the tubes here, there is a spring inside, and it will spring up a bit. It won't push it and fly it across the room, but it will push up a bit. So you kind of just got to be ready as you're unscrewing it. You kind of press down while you're doing it. The other thing to remember is the Schrader valve on this side that you have pumped up. If there's any air pressure left inside, just put a rag over it as you let the pressure out, because it'll want to spray oil out. I've already released the pressure on these, and there wasn't any pressure to speak of anyway, because the seals are so far gone. So yeah, so there's those ones. The clamps on the triple tree are 10mm. This little Honda plate that just pops in and out by hand, and then the other 10mm are back there. I'll have to drain the oil. I'm going to do that after I take the wheel off, but the drain plugs on the bottom are 10mm. And then, like I said, the axle nuts are 19. And the bolts that hold on the calipers are, I'm trying to remember if they're 12s or 14. I think they're 12s. Might be 14s. No, they might be 14s. Anyway, either one. And then I'll have to take the fender off too, and I think the fender bolts are 10mm. So pretty straightforward. Get this off. A bit of work. Obviously, you got to jack up the bike underneath, and because you're going to be taking the wheel and the forks off. But once I get that set up, should be ready to go. Okay, so I'm busy loosening bolts. I've got the axle bolt loosened. I've got the triple tree clamps loosened up. I got the hose taken off now. So as I said, the connection here was 14. Where is it? Here it is. This guy here was a 14mm. And then on this side was a 12mm. So take the 14mm one off first, then just kind of spin the hose and get it out of here. And you can see you still are left with the nipple here, and that nipple's 10mm. So you got to get that out of there so that you can spin the top off the tubes. So just to let you know what the steps are. A little bit of a tight squeeze, but not impossible. Okay, so I've got all the bolts loosened off. I removed the axle and pushed it through. Wheel is off. Bike is supported. I've got a jack stand there, with a piece of wood between it and the engine case. And then I've got a bottle jack under the cooler that I use to jack it up, but I'm really resting it on the jack stand. Fender was a bit of an interesting thing to take off. It didn't really want to go through the space here on the fork. So what I ended up having to do was taking just a a little bit of one of these clamps and squeezing in on the ears just a little bit, just enough to kind of give it space, and then it would fall through. So next I'm going to be taking out those 10 millimeter plugs and draining each fork before I get busy taking the rest of it apart. But now the forks are free to, well, the sliders are free to spin, obviously, now that the fender's off. So we'll get busy draining it and then get the forks off. So one thing I needed to correct at the beginning, I was saying that the bolt on the bottom of the forks was 8 millimeter, but it turns out it's a 6 millimeter Allen head. I went back and looked at the parts diagram, and it does say 8 millimeter. So I'm guessing what it is the bolt is 8 millimeter, but the socket itself, or the head for the Allen head, is 6 millimeter. So just so you know, and it's a good idea to crack those before you take off the fender, so that because on mine the curbside one was loose, it was fine, but the roadside one was stiff as hell. It said that they, in the manual, that they were put in with what do you call that, Loctite type material. So that's probably what the issue was. But anyway, probably a good idea to do that, unless you got a really big vise, and then you can just with soft jaws, and then you can have at it once you've got the sliders off. Okay, so I got the fork out, and of the triple tree, slid out pretty easy. Don't have to take the bolts out, you just have to loosen the clamps on the triple tree. Got it on the bench, and I'd already loosened the cap, so I twisted the cap off. I held onto it so it didn't spring out too much. It'll spring up about an inch or so, but once you hold onto it, remove it, and then just take out the spring. There's a washer between the two springs, and then I went down to the end, and I ended up taking out that, well, it says it's an 8 millimeter. It takes a 6 millimeter hex key, so whatever, 6 millimeter I'm going to call it. That one was a little bit different. I had to put the fork in my vise with the soft jaws to hold it so that I could pull on the slider and kind of put some force against it on the inside. And I took my drill and I went in there and just spun it fast, and it just popped out, so it's not too bad. So next is going to be getting the snap ring out of this guy. I'll get in there with my snap ring pliers and pop that out. It doesn't look like it's all rusty in there. The boot did its job keeping the water out by the looks of it, so it's not all rusty. And then continue on with taking everything apart. So let's see where we go. I'm going to need both hands to do this, so that's why I'm filming this first, and then we'll get back to it after I've got it apart. Okay, so I got the fork all apart now. It came out of the triple tree pretty easy. I had a bit of a struggle getting the bolt, the 6 millimeter bolt on the bottom, to come loose. So what I did was I put the top part of the shock in my soft jawed vise there, the soft jaws, held onto it, and then I pulled on the slider just to give it some tension, and spun it quickly with my drill, and it popped out. So then it was fine. And what ended up happening was I took the top part of the shock and the slider, and I just pulled them apart, and it all popped out. So this rod's inside, there's a spring, and this is what the 6 millimeter bolt goes into. This little aluminum piece was in the slider, and it fell out. So when I go to put it together, I'm going to put this on and just probably put like something through the hole here in this rod just to hold it, and just kind of tap it in until the aluminum piece is up, because that way it'll go in straight into the slider and I won't have to mess around with it not lining up. Anyway, so when you get this out, you'll see that the seal, the lettering and the numbers are on the top of the seal, so that's the way the orientation for the new seal has to go. So my plan is to use the old seal. I'll take it off. I'll install the new seal after I clean everything up, of course, and I'm going to clean the inside of these tubes as well. And I'll use the old seal to kind of push it down into the slider below the level where the snap ring clicks into place. And then once that's in there, I'll put the Allen bolt back together, that 6mm bolt. I'll put in the snap ring, put the springs back in, and the top back on, and should be good to go. Oh, and the dust guard there, I'll put that back on. So, but first, before I do any of that, since I got the slider out and it's empty, I just need to clean it out for all the oil and grease and junk out of the inside. I think I'm going to polish it up a bit. I'm going to break out my buffing wheel and clean that up and get it nice and shiny again, and just make it look a little neater. It's easy to play with and maneuver on the buffing wheel as a piece like this rather than as an entire fork. So that'll be next. Okay, so got everything cleaned up. I polished up the slider, and I cleaned the inside of the slider. It's all nice and clean. I cleaned the inside of the fork tube as well as I could. I put in some Varsol and swished it around inside, and then blew it out with some compressed air. So I'm just getting ready to take off the old seal, which I'm going to use as a driver for the new seal. I'm going to put it on from the top and slide it down. But before I do that, when I do it, you always get like pitting, small pits on the fork rod here. So I can feel it with my finger. It's very hard to see. Obviously, whatever was inside the slider is nice and smooth, but little bits of sand and rock and whatnot hit the outside. And this part that was up inside of the triple clamp is nice and smooth as well. So kind of from here down to about here is not sharp. I went over it with some 0000 steel wool, some fine steel wool, extra fine, and kind of smoothed it out as well as I can with that, polished it up a bit, but I can still feel it under my finger, so I don't want to take a chance that there might be like a little bit of a sharp edge rather, that might just put a slight nick into the new seal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some packing tape, and I'm just going to make a wrap around here and then lube it up with my ATF, and then slide the new seal down over it. And I'm going to do that just to protect the rubber on the seal. I've done that on a few bikes for different kinds of seals, like on my Enfield when I did the primary chain case. I protected the splines on the where the sprocket goes, so the new seal wouldn't get damaged, and it worked fine. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I got the new seal on now. I've taken off all the packing tape that I used to cover all the little pits in the fork tube. So now you got this dampener rod that needs to go in with the spring, and the end of that is threaded. That's what the 6mm bolt screws into. So what I'll do is I'll put this in, and I'll use my long spring just to push it down to the end, and I'll get it to stick out. And once it's sticking out, then I'll jam that aluminum piece on. Rather than drop the aluminum into the slider and hope to catch it with the damper rod, I'm going to put it on the end of that, and then put that all together into the slider. And then I'll just start to screw in. I'll put the spring in to put a bit of tension on it. I'll start to screw in the 6mm bolt into the end of the damper rod, just to hold it in place. And then I'll start to get the new seal put into the top. I'll use the old seal to I'll push it on, and I'll use it to kind of jam down. I'm going to use a piece of wood rather than bang away at it, even with my rubber mallet, just so I get an angle and go around it and punch in the new seal using the old seal on top of it to push it into place. Okay, so I've got the street side fork out now, and getting ready to tear it down. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of videos on this unless something comes up that I didn't think of the first time, like with this video. So when I did the other fork, I took off the end cap and took the springs out. But I did that before I took out the 6mm bolt there, hex head bolt. So this time, and it was a bit difficult, it wanted to spin, and I had to put the fork tube in the soft vise and pull on the slider a bit to get some tension to get it to come out, and it did. But this time I'm going to leave the spring inside and take out the bolt first, and then once that's out, then I'll take the cap off and remove the spring and proceed with the rest of the tear down. So that's a little thing that I got wrong the first time, so hopefully this will correct it.